Hi Stampers, this is Sally Poole, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Thanks for stopping by today. In this video, we'll be making a card using the twisted ribbon technique. This is a great technique for card making to use up some of those scraps of beautiful paper that you have lying around. I know we all have them. I have two samples here today and we'll be putting this one together. I saw a card made with this technique a few days ago and I was just wowed by it. I had never seen the technique before and I had to stare at it for a bit to try and figure out how it was done. It looked very complicated to me, but it really isn't. Here are the pieces that we'll need today. We need a piece of 5.5 by 8.5 for the card base, and we'll score it at 4.25. I'm using Flirty Flamingo. We'll need one piece of Whisper White cardstock cut at 4 inches by 5.25 inches. This is for the embossed panel. You can leave it plain if you want. You don't have to emboss it. We also need one piece of Whisper White cut at 2 inches by 5.25. One piece of Flirty Flamingo cut at 2.25 by 5.25. You'll need a scrap piece of Whisper White for your sentiment. And then you'll also need 8 pieces of designer series paper, or you could use plain colored cardstock. You'll need 4 each of 2 different patterns. These are cut at 3/4 inch by 3.5 inches. I'm using paper from the Wonderful World pack, which is free with a purchase of $100 or more right now during celebration. You get the stamp set and the designer series paper pack together for the $100. This is the current mini catalog, July through December 2022. This is the celebration catalog that has this set in it. Hopefully you've got these catalogs already. If not, get a hold of me and let me know. So I'll also post the PDF with the directions and all of the measurements below this video. So let's get started. Let's fold our card base. Doesn't look like I scored it very well. Give it a good crease with our bone folder. And then we can emboss our panel. I'll bring in my Big Shot, my old Big Shot. And I'm going to use the new Fern 3D embossing folder. So I'm just going to put my piece of Whisper White paper in. I've got my platform, my embossing folder, and just one other sheet. So let's run that through. And that really comes out pretty. It's just got a great, beautiful texture to it. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we need to put some little tick marks on this 2 inch by 5.25 inch piece of paper that'll allow us to lay down the little pieces of paper correctly. So I'm going to scoot it over here on my grid paper to the ruler, and we're going to mark it every 3/4 of an inch. So there's 1 at 3/4, 1 at 1 1/2, 1 at 2 1/4, 1 at 3, 1 at 3 3/4, and 1 at 4 1/2. Then we're going to flip our paper over and do the same thing on the other side. Three quarters, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3 inches, 3 3/4, 4 1/2. So you'll have a set of 6 on each side. So there's 12 little tick marks. And this is how we're going to make our little diagonal zones to lay the paper in. So I'm going to bring in a silicone craft mat because I'm probably going to get glue all over everything. And here's my little piece with the tick marks on it. So the paper that you want to lay down first probably would be the paper that is a little plainer. You'll want to use the really pretty DSP for the second gluing. So you can either glue the back of these strips, excuse me, or you can place glue where you're going to lay the pieces. So I'm just going to put some glue on here between these tick marks. And I'm going to lay down this piece of paper between these 2 tick marks on the right at the top, and then I'm going to line it up with the very top left corner. Okay, so let's just finish putting glue in these areas. So we'll skip a spot, put some glue, skip a spot, put some more glue. Lay down our second piece of DSP, line up our tick marks. Here goes our third piece. Line up our tick marks. And some more glue for the last piece. So this is going to go right to the corner point and up to the tick mark on the left. So that's what it should look like. I don't think I got any glue on everything. You can either set this aside for a little bit and let it dry, or you can directly go to cutting. I have a pair of old scissors that I cut ooey gooey tape and glue with, so that's what I'll be using. You could also use a pair of scissors that has longer blades on it, but these really do work fine. So I'm going to cut this piece of paper right across the bottom. And you can see I got an extra little piece here, which can easily be cut off. It's not going to matter and nobody's going to notice. Not going to make any difference in the pattern. So now we'll lay our second set of papers down. So you might want to take a look at these and see how you want to line them up. And you also want to make sure you have them going the right way. If you've got a pattern to your paper, you don't want to put these on upside down. So I think this looks pretty good. So let's start attaching these. This time I'm going to actually put the glue on the papers. And this is going to go up to the top of that corner and down to this bottom corner. You could also lay your glue down here. I just don't want to miscalculate on camera. So we'll lay that one at that point and down here at this point. They don't have to be exact. Like I said, it's still going to come out pretty, even if it's off a little bit. Okay, we'll do that point to this. And then one more. And this will have way more glue on it than is needed because it's not going to cover up much of the panel. So you might also want to take a look at your DSP and see which pieces of the paper you actually want on your project. So this will go from the top corner down to this crossing point. All right, now I do have glue on my mat. I don't know where I got this craft sheet. I've had it for a long time. They're pretty handy. Stampin' Up! Does have a silicone mat. I think it's listed as a silicone craft sheet. I'm going to take a little bit of water on a paper towel and wipe my craft sheet off before the glue dries. So there's the panel we just did. I do have another panel that I've prepared ahead of time, and hopefully it's a little bit drier, so let's work on that one. So we're just going to go along and cut off all of these excess pieces that are sticking out. And they are sticky. There's some people that I watch on videos like this that just go snip, 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 and it's all done. I can't do it like that. Okay, so there is what the twisted ribbon piece looks like. Gosh, I think it's so pretty. So let's put this panel together. Let's get our piece of Flirty Flamingo. We'll put a little glue on the back of our twisted ribbon panel. And adhere it to the Flirty Flamingo panel. Now these are the same length from top to bottom. They're 5.5 inches. So you're just going to have a little border on the left and the right. Next, let's adhere our embossed panel to our card base, and I'm going to use a tape runner for that. I should move that craft mat. It's pretty slippery. Okay, that looks good. So let me get this out of the way. Now we can adhere this piece to our card base. You could pop this up on dimensionals if you want. And I'm gonna line my card base up on the grid paper. And try to get this straight. I guess I should have scooted it down farther. Okay, about all we have left is our sentiment. So let's stamp a sentiment. I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo ink, and I'm using a stamp from the Charming Sentiment stamp set. It says Faith Over Fear. Get my little scrap here. See if we can stamp a good impression. Hold it down for a second and let that ink absorb into the paper. And that looks great. So let's close up our stamp pad. And I'm going to use the Sentiment Silhouette die that coordinates with the Charming Sentiment stamp set. So I'm just going to lay it on this sentiment. They line up really well. And I'll bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I have plate 1, plate 2, my paper with my sentiment and die, and another plate 2. And we'll run that through. Pop it out, and that looks great. So I'm just going to glue this. Another option of course, is you could pop it up too if you wanted. You can move them around on here and see if maybe you'd like it over here or up here or part way on, part way off. Of course, you can cut some other sentiments. I do have this wishing you everything wonderful that I cut from the same sets. That would look nice on there too. So you have lots of options. So let's put a little glue on here. Pop that sentiment on our card. And now let's take our piece for the inside of our card. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And we'll put that in. And I was going to decorate an envelope, but I don't see what I did with it. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that. I always think I have everything ready, and then it seems like I'm always missing something. So I just have a basic white envelope, and I just noticed I've been saying Whisper White this whole time. It's no longer Whisper White, it's basic white. I have a piece of the matching cardstock from the Wonderful World pack. This is cut at 2.5 inches by 6 inches. We'll just put a little glue on our envelope flap. Slide this paper on here right up to the fold on the envelope. Give it a press. And then we'll just cut around the edge. Okay. So that's our card. I'll bring the other one back in too. I do have the supplies used for this one on the PDF with the measurements for both cards. So thanks for watching. If you enjoy my videos, it would be awesome if you would like them and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy the day.